and welcome to Round Robin. I'm your host, Robin McCormick with the City of Hampton. And today we're going to spend some time talking about trees. There are some very special trees in our city, in our region, and we can give you a tour of those. My guest is Debbie Blanton from the Clean City Commission. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
It's fun. Debbie, why do we care about trees?
We care about trees for so many reasons. Most people know trees make oxygen, they provide habitat for animals, and we love trees because of that. But there's so much more to us. When we came to this continent, as most of us as immigrants, well, all of us as immigrants at one level or another, the trees were here to greet us. And some of the trees that were here when we first came here are still here. For example, the Algernon oak on Fort Monroe. It was here before Fort Monroe was Fort Algernon. It was about a middle-aged tree when they built Fort Algernon. And
so it was here when Pocahontas was here?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it was here before the first English settlers came. Mm-hmm. It was alive and well and doing its tree thing.
So it is that longevity, that history, the ecology.
Right, all of it. And in addition to that, we have a connection with trees. As people, we have a connection with trees. And so, for example, there can be a tree in your yard that you just dearly love just because maybe you and your grandma used to sit underneath it and shell beans, or maybe your son planted that tree, as in my case, I have a tree that my son planted when he was in fourth grade, yes. But everyone has, or I would say almost everyone has, that special tree that means something important to them. Neighborhoods have special trees. Trees where people gather to have fun. Right now I'm thinking of the Width Association and Robinson Park and those wonderful big trees that they have there. All kinds of trees have great meaning to our culture, to our history, to our general well-being. There have been studies that have shown that people who can see trees outside of their hospital window get better faster because of that connection that we have. And it's mysterious, and yet it's known.
Right. Yeah. It's a little mystical, but it's also just connection to the earth and the environment and that stability and longevity. It's not like an annual crop, that
comes and goes.
Yeah, it's there.
They're there for a long, long time. So we get attached to them.
Yeah, we do.
We do.
So somebody actually wrote a book about the most remarkable trees in Virginia.
Yes, and that was Nancy Ross Hugo and Jeff Kerwin. Robert Llewellyn provided the photograph. Amazing photographer provided the photos for the book. And when they started working on the book, Jeff Kerwin contacted me and asked if there were any remarkable trees in Hampton. And I'm like, oh yeah, we have the Emancipation Oak. And I sent out the word to everyone, and it turns out that we had 3 truly remarkable trees in Hampton. We had the Emancipation Oak, of course, which is where Mary Peak used to teach students underneath the boughs of the Emancipation Oak.
And by students, you mean African Americans who were either freed or whose owners allowed them to go. Or, it's very unusual.
Yes, and initially it was kind of, for a lot of people, they weren't supposed to be learning to read and write or learning anything. But she did it, and it happened under the Emancipation Oak. Also, the Emancipation Oak is where the first copy of the Emancipation Proclamation was read in the South.
To the people who would be affected by it, to those slaves who were now declared free, who were actually probably by that time contrabands who'd escaped, but it was still, the law had changed basically for them.
And the Emancipation Oak was the location where that was declared.
So that has history, longevity, just
beauty,
a tremendous.
And it's right there beside our highway.
It's so close. I didn't realize how close it was, because in the pictures, you see it as this green setting, and it is protected.
Right.
And, but you can go, just right up to it and sit underneath it
and just look at it and enjoy it. It has the most remarkable structure, as all live oaks do. The Emancipation Oak is a live oak. Live oaks are evergreen oaks, which means they keep their leaves year-round.
That threw this Ohio girl when I first came down here. I'm like, I know an oak, and that is not an oak. So what is it? So I had to learn about the coastal southern live oak.
Right, and they stay green because our climate is temperate and they don't have to shed their leaves because they don't have to worry about their leaves freezing, and they can maintain their growth throughout the year. Other oaks have a different approach to life. They have thinner leaves and they shed their leaves so they don't lose moisture over the winter. But those live oaks are oaks, and they have acorns.
Oh, do they?
They
I've
do.
never seen that. So, okay, you talked just a little bit about, so there's the Algernon oak at Fort Monroe, and that's in that central parade ground, right?
It is.
Okay.
It's within the moat.
And then for people who want to go see it and haven't yet seen the Emancipation Oak, that is
Just off, it's on Hampton University, right at the intersection of Settlers Landing and I-64.
Yeah.
And you just turn on Tyler Street and then left on Emancipation Drive.
Right.
And the tree is on your left. You can't miss it. It's
You
this
really
huge,
can't.
beautiful
As
tree.
long as you just make that first turn correctly, and you don't have to go through the gates of the campus or
Right.
sign
You
in
can
or
just
get a
go
pass or
park
anything.
in the
You can just
parking
go
lot
right
and
on
enjoy
in.
it.
Okay, so when you told me there were three, those two came to my mind.
Right.
The third one is a surprise.
The third one was a surprise because it was unknown for a long time. People had forgotten about it. The Apollo missions to the moon took seeds with them so they could see how being in space would affect seeds. And I guess they thought maybe the seeds wouldn't grow, or maybe they were trying to find out if they would. Nobody knew. So they took a bunch of seeds to the moon and back, and then they came back, and I believe it was the Forest Service grew them. And then they distributed the seedlings across the nation. And unfortunately, many of those trees have been lost. Either they just didn't survive because of horticultural reasons, forgot to water them, maybe a deer ate them or something like that. But in our case, we had a student at Booker Elementary School who wrote a poem. And that poem won a moon tree for the city of Hampton. And it was placed at Booker Elementary School. Her name was Marjorie White. And
That's so cool that you remember all this. That's
well,
neat.
I wasn't here when it all happened, but Becky Terrell, who was a teacher at Booker at the time, remembered it. And she brought that history back to life. And because of her, I went looking for the history of the moon trees, and there was the Moon Tree Registry, and there was no moon tree there for Booker Elementary School.
Oh, wow.
I'm like, wait a minute. It turns out that Booker's moon tree was a lost moon tree. They had lost track of it. And so we re-registered it with the Moon Tree Registry, and it is growing at Booker Elementary School in their courtyard. And so we try to incorporate that tree on many of our tree tours because we want people to understand how very special this tree is. It's a reminder of the time when we were flying around the moon. It's a reminder of the creativity of the children of Hampton, one child in particular.
She won with a poem.
She won it with a poem. It's a reminder of the importance of trees in our culture.
Well, and I'm going to tie it back to Hampton's days, at Project Mercury in the early days of space exploration.
And it was the perfect place for it to come, but Marjorie won it with her poem.
Isn't that wonderful? What kind of tree is that?
It is a sycamore tree.
Okay.
And I was showing it to a group of after-school students one time, and one little boy came up with this money-raising idea. He was going to save the seed pods and sell them on eBay. I don't know if he did it. But it's just
that's
beautiful.
enterprise.
It's enterprise, and that's Hampton kids at best, right?
Right.
So it's a beautiful tree, and you can see it probably almost any time as long as you make arrangements with the school. But when we do tree tours that include that tree, you'll be able to just walk up and touch it and
That's great.
take a really good look at it.
Okay, so aside from our three most famous trees that are in that book, you are looking for other important trees, either historically or horticulturally or whatever, because you want to expand this tree tour idea.
Right. Well, the tree tour started in 2008 because of the Remarkable Trees book. And then we did it for like 2 times we did the tree tours, and then it kind of fell by the wayside because we got busy with other things. People started contacting us and saying, when are you going to do another tree tour?
Because as you said, there is something about trees that has a connection.
And people kind of know trees, but they don't know trees. I mean, they see them, but they don't, unless someone shares that knowledge about their history and their biology, they don't really know the trees. So last spring, we did another tree tour. And we went to the big three. Well, we tried to go to the big three. It's a long story. We went to the Algernon oak and the moon tree. And then we also went down along Chesapeake Avenue where there are some dawn redwood trees. We saw some huge bald cypresses there that have the knees that stick up just like they do in the swamps. We saw a bunch of trees on that tree tour. And then we started thinking, you know, there are other trees in Hampton that are just as beautiful, just as important, and just as beloved as these trees, and we just need to find them. So we are working on additional tours that will focus on neighborhoods. We're going to be doing 2 neighborhoods at a time, and we need people to nominate their special trees because we won't know about them unless someone tells us.
So then you're going to organize tours, maybe spring and fall,
right,
and travel the city of Hampton. What a fun opportunity.
And I want to say that it's not just the Hampton Clean City Commission, it's also in partnership with the Hampton Master Gardeners Tree Stewards program. And many of the volunteers that are part of that program are helping to coordinate the tree tours.
That's wonderful. I love our Master Gardeners.
I do too. And the tree stewards, of course, are very dear to my heart because I'm a tree hugger. But it's a great opportunity to look at some of those really special trees. One, for example, that is very dear to me is the elm tree at Machen Elementary School. We have an American elm, a beautiful, tall American elm at Machen Elementary School. And I'm always talking about it because hardly anybody knows that we have it.
Yeah, that's a little bit rare.
It is because
the Dutch elm disease
so many elms died because of Dutch elm disease.
Well, that is wonderful. And even, you know, trees that are native to this area. I mean, dogwoods have been here for a long time. There are a lot of trees that are threatened by disease. So we should celebrate what we have.
We absolutely should. And we should also celebrate those neighborhood connections. The trees that are special in neighborhoods, a church that has a magnificent tree, a business that has gone out of its way to save a huge tree, anything that will bring to life the relationship between us and our trees. Hampton has a wonderful urban forest. We really do.
We do, and those are gathering places, as you said. Those are parks, those are churches, those are places where people congregate and build those memories.
Right, and trees are just such an integral part of the beauty of Hampton. So we just want everybody to celebrate with us and to go on the tours with us and tell us about their trees and let us highlight them and share them with everyone else.
Well, that sounds great. Thank you, Debbie.
Thank you very much.
And thank you for watching. If you have a tree you would like to nominate, contact the Clean City Commission. And if you want to join the tours of different special trees throughout the city, contact them or call 311 and they'll get you signed up. Thanks for watching.